Hello everyone. Welcome to the CBSE Class 9 Artificial Intelligence course. In this video, we will begin Part B, Subject-Specific Skills, focusing on Unit 2, Data Literacy. Our topic for this lesson is Unit 2.2, Acquiring Data, Processing, and Interpreting Data. Data plays a very important role in artificial intelligence. An AI system needs data to learn, identify patterns, make predictions, and provide useful results. In this unit, we will understand how data is acquired from different sources, how raw data is processed and prepared for use, and how data can be interpreted to obtain meaningful information. We will also learn about data quality, data processing, qualitative and quantitative data, different methods of data collection, and various ways of presenting and interpreting data. So, let us begin our journey into data literacy and understand how data becomes meaningful and useful in the world of artificial intelligence. In this lesson, we will cover several important topics related to data literacy. First, we will begin with an introduction to data and understand the different types of data. We will discuss two major types, numeric or quantitative data, and textual or qualitative data. Next, we will explore the types of data used in the three domains of artificial intelligence. After that, we will learn about data acquisition or acquiring data and the various sources from which data can be collected. We will also discuss the best practices that should be followed while acquiring data. Another important topic will be data acquisition from websites, along with the ethical concerns that need to be considered while collecting data. Finally, we will learn about the usability and features of data, as well as data preprocessing. By the end of this lesson, you will have a better understanding of how data is collected, prepared, and made useful for artificial intelligence applications. Next, we will continue with the remaining topics of this unit. We will begin with data processing and data interpretation, where we will understand how raw data is processed and how meaningful information can be obtained from it. Then, we will learn about the methods of data interpretation. After that, we will explore qualitative data interpretation and the different data collection methods used for qualitative data interpretation. We will then move on to quantitative data interpretation, along with the various data collection methods used for quantitative data interpretation. Next, we will study the types of data interpretation. These include textual data interpretation, tabular data interpretation, and graphical data interpretation. Finally, we will understand the importance of data interpretation and see how interpreting data can help us make better decisions and understand information more effectively. Let us begin with the introduction to data literacy. Data is a collection of facts or statistics that can be used for reference or analysis. Data can be processed into meaningful information using different data analysis techniques and algorithms. Data can exist in many forms, such as text, video, images, audio, and more. Some examples of data include a name, such as Raj, a year, such as 2024, a date, such as 20th September 2024, a salary, such as 40,000, or a color, such as green. Data is the fuel for artificial intelligence algorithms. When we want AI systems to make predictions, we need data to train them. AI algorithms learn and work based on the patterns and insights derived from data. In this unit, we will learn about different methods of data acquisition, types of data, various sources of data, and the best methods of acquiring, processing, and interpreting data. Let us now understand the different types of data. Working with data is crucial because it helps us identify the types of data and understand how to use them to produce meaningful outcomes. Some common types of data include textual data and numeric data. Textual data can be further classified into two types: nominal data and ordinal data. Nominal data represents categories or labels that do not have any specific order. Ordinal data represents categories that have a meaningful order or ranking. Numeric data deals with numbers and can also be divided into two types: discrete data and continuous data. Discrete data consists of countable values, such as the number of students in a class. Continuous data can take any value within a range, such as height, weight, or temperature. Understanding these different types of data is important because it helps us choose the right methods to collect, process, analyze, and interpret data. Now, let us understand numeric or quantitative data. Quantity refers to a definite number. Therefore, quantitative data is data that can be expressed using finite numbers. Numeric data is further subdivided into two types: discrete data and continuous data. Discrete data contains only whole numbers and cannot be fractional. For example, the number of students in a class can only be a whole number. We cannot have a fraction or decimal number of students. Continuous data, on the other hand, is continuous and is often obtained through measurement. Examples include height, weight, temperature, and voltage. So, the key difference is that discrete data is countable and usually represented by whole numbers, whereas continuous data is measurable and can have values within a range. Now, let us understand textual or qualitative data. Quality refers to the characteristics of objects or living beings. Accordingly, data that describes quality is considered qualitative data. Textual data is further subdivided into two types: nominal data and ordinal data. Nominal data is also known as categorical data. It represents categories or groups that have no inherent order. For example, gender can be male or female, and eye color can be blue, green, or brown. Ordinal data represents categories that have a meaningful order. For example, education levels can be arranged as high school, bachelor's, master's, and PhD. Therefore, nominal data tells us about categories without any particular order, while ordinal data represents categories that follow a meaningful order. Let us now understand the difference between continuous data and discrete data. Continuous data can take any numeric value within a specified range. It is measurable and can be infinitely subdivided, so it often includes decimal values. For example, the dimensions of a classroom, height, weight, temperature, and time are all examples of continuous data. Continuous data is often analyzed using statistical techniques such as mean, median, standard deviation, and correlation. Now, let us look at discrete data. Discrete data refers to distinct, single values. It consists of whole numbers without decimal parts that represent distinct categories or values. Discrete data is countable and cannot be meaningfully subdivided. It is commonly analyzed using frequency distributions, bar charts, and probability distributions. Examples of discrete data include the number of girls and boys in a class, the number of subjects in class 9th, and the count of objects. So, in simple terms, continuous data is measurable, while discrete data is countable. Now, let us compare textual data, also known as qualitative data, with numeric data, also known as quantitative data. Textual data is made up of words and phrases. It is commonly used in natural language processing, or NLP. For example, search queries on the internet are a type of textual data. A question such as, "Which is a good park nearby?" is an example of textual data. On the other hand, Numeric data is made up of numbers and is commonly used for statistical purposes. Any measurements, readings, or values can be considered numeric data. For example, a cricket score or a restaurant bill is numeric data. So, in simple terms, textual data deals mainly with words and phrases, while numeric data deals with numbers, measurements, and values. Now, let us understand the types of data used in three important domains of artificial intelligence. The three domains are computer vision, natural language processing, and data science. First, we have computer vision, or CV. It mainly works with visual data. Visual data includes images and videos. For example, an AI system can analyze an image to identify objects or recognize patterns. The second domain is natural language processing, or NLP. It works with textual data. Examples of textual data include documents, PDF files, social media posts, and chats. The third domain is data science. It mainly works with numeric or statistical data. Examples include tables, Excel sheets, CSV files, database records, time series data, and sensor readings. So, we can remember it simply: computer vision works with visual data, NLP works with textual data, and data science works mainly with numeric or statistical data. Now, let us understand data acquisition, also known as acquiring data. Data acquisition refers to the procedure of gathering data, such as raw facts, figures, or statistics, from relevant sources. This data can be collected for reference or for analysis needed in artificial intelligence projects. Data acquisition involves searching for datasets that are suitable for training AI models. It plays a crucial role in obtaining and preparing the required data for analysis. The process of data acquisition typically comprises three key steps. The first step is data discovery. It involves searching for new datasets that can be useful for an AI project. The second step is data augmentation. This means adding more data to the existing data. It helps increase the amount and variety of data available for training. The third step is data generation. When suitable data is not available, new data can be generated for the AI model. Therefore, data acquisition can involve discovering new data, augmenting existing data, or generating new data when required. Let us understand sample data discovery with an example. Suppose we want to collect data for creating a computer vision model for a self-driving car. For this purpose, we will require pictures of roads and the different objects present on the roads. These images may include roads, vehicles, traffic signals, pedestrians, and other objects that a self-driving car needs to recognize. We can search for suitable datasets and download this data from the internet. The process of searching for and obtaining suitable existing datasets is called data discovery. So, in this example, finding road images and object images required for training a self-driving car model is an example of data discovery. Now, let us understand data augmentation. Data augmentation is the process of increasing the amount of data by creating modified copies of existing data. Instead of collecting completely new data, we make small changes to the existing data to generate additional training samples. In the example shown here, the original image remains the same, but different versions of the image can be created by changing parameters such as color, brightness, contrast, rotation, or size. These small modifications help create new data while preserving the important features of the original image. As a result, the dataset becomes larger and more diverse. Data augmentation helps AI models learn from a wider variety of examples, improving their accuracy and performance. So, data augmentation means adding new data by slightly modifying existing data. Now, let us understand sample data generation. Data generation refers to generating or recording data using sensors. For example, sensors installed in a building can continuously record temperature readings. These readings provide information about the temperature at different times and are an example of data generation. The sensors collect the readings automatically, and the recorded data is then stored in a computer in a suitable form, such as a table or a CSV file. This collected data can later be used for analysis, monitoring, or training an AI model. So, data generation is the process of creating or recording new data, often with the help of sensors or other data collection devices. Now, let us learn about the various sources for acquiring data. One important source is primary data sources. Primary data is collected directly from the original source for a specific purpose. Some common methods of collecting primary data include surveys, interviews, experiments, and other direct methods. For example, if we conduct an experiment and collect data from that experiment, the data generated is considered primary data. The slide also shows an example of an Excel sheet containing data collected about students in a class. The table includes information such as the name, height, weight, age, residence, and favorite hobby of the students. Since this information is collected directly for the purpose of the study, it is an example of primary data. In the next section, we will explore other important sources from which data can be acquired. Now, let us understand secondary data sources. Secondary data collection means obtaining information from external sources rather than generating or collecting it personally. There are several online sources that provide datasets which can be used for research, analysis, and artificial intelligence projects. One such source is Kaggle. Kaggle is an online community of data scientists where users can access and share different types of data. Another source is Google Dataset Search, which is a tool that helps users search for datasets by name. We can also find datasets through government data portals, which provide publicly available datasets from different countries and government departments. Another source shown here is UCI, which provides collections of databases, domain theories, and data generators developed in collaboration with the University of Massachusetts. Therefore, secondary data sources allow us to use existing data collected by others, saving time and effort when suitable datasets are already available. Now, let us differentiate between primary data and secondary data. Primary data refers to data that is collected for the first time. It is collected in real time and usually requires time, cost, tools, and manpower. Therefore, collecting primary data can be a complex task. Primary data is normally available in raw form because it is unprocessed data. It can be collected through methods such as surveys, interviews, observations, experiments, testing, questionnaires, and personal interviews. On the other hand, secondary data is data that already exists and is used for some purpose. It was collected in the past and is relatively simple to obtain. Secondary data is generally refined because it has been extracted from primary data. Common sources of secondary data include government publications, websites, books, journal articles, internal records, and sensor data. So, the key difference is that primary data is collected directly and for the first time, while secondary data is obtained from existing sources. Now, let us understand the best practices for acquiring data. In artificial intelligence, the quality of data is crucial for obtaining reliable and accurate results. The terms good data and bad data are often used to describe the overall quality and usability of data for analysis. Let us look at some characteristics that help us identify good and bad data. Good data contains information that is reliable and accurate. It is well structured, consistent, clearly presented, and contains relevant information. On the other hand, bad data may be scattered. It can contain incomplete or duplicate values and may be inconsistent or poorly presented. It may also contain irrelevant information. Therefore, while acquiring data, we should always try to collect data that is accurate, well structured, consistent, clearly presented, and relevant. Good quality data helps AI systems produce more reliable and meaningful results. Now, let us understand data acquisition from websites. The process of collecting data from websites using software is called web scraping. There are different tools available that can help us collect data from websites. However, it is important to understand that while web scraping itself is not illegal, using data without permission can be illegal. Therefore, during data acquisition, we need to make sure that the data source allows data scraping and that we follow the required rules and permissions. So, whenever we collect data from websites, we should use appropriate tools and always respect the website's terms, permissions, and applicable laws. Now, let us understand the ethical concerns in data acquisition. While gathering data and choosing datasets, we need to consider certain ethical issues and take appropriate steps to address them before they occur. The first concern is bias. We should understand and avoid preferences or partiality in the data so that the data remains fair and representative. The second concern is consent. We should take the necessary permissions before collecting or using an individual's data. The third concern is transparency. We should clearly explain how we intend to use the collected data and should not hide our intentions. The fourth concern is anonymity. We should protect the identity of the person who is the source of the data. Finally, there is accountability. We must take responsibility for our actions, especially in cases where the data is misused. Therefore, ethical data acquisition means collecting and using data in a fair, responsible, transparent, and respectful manner. Now, let us learn about usability of data, features of data, and data preprocessing. First, let us understand the usability of data. There are three primary factors that determine the usability of data. The first factor is structure. Structure defines how data is stored. For example, the spreadsheet shown here stores information in an organized format. Each individual has separate details such as purchase ID, last name, first name, birthday, and country. The information is arranged systematically in rows and columns according to a set of rules. This is an example of a good structure because the data is organized and easy to read, search, and analyze. Now, compare this with the text document shown on the right. Information about different individuals is written together in paragraph form without a fixed organizational structure. This is an example of a poor structure because the data does not follow a clear set of organizing rules. Therefore, a well-structured dataset makes data easier to understand, process, and analyze, while poorly structured data can make these tasks more difficult. Now, let us look at the second factor that determines the usability of data, cleanliness. Clean data is free from duplicate values, missing values, outliers, and other anomalies that may affect its reliability and usefulness for analysis. In the example shown here, the dataset initially contains a duplicate value. The same value appears more than once in the dataset. During the data cleaning process, the duplicate value is identified and removed. This process is known as data cleaning or data cleansing. Clean data is important because it helps improve the reliability, accuracy, and usefulness of a dataset for analysis. Therefore, before using data for an AI project, we should check the dataset carefully and remove duplicates, handle missing values, identify outliers, and correct other problems that may affect the quality of the data. Now, let us look at the third factor that determines the usability of data: accuracy. Accuracy indicates how well the data matches real-world values, ensuring that the information is reliable. Accurate data closely reflects the actual values without errors. This improves the quality and trustworthiness of the dataset. In this example, we are comparing data obtained by measuring the length of a small box in centimeters. On the left, the inaccurate data contains observed values such as 5.36, 4.38, 3.21, 6.25, and 2.67. These values are quite different from the real value, which is 3.56 centimeters. On the right, the accurate data contains observed values such as 3.52, 3.56, 3.53, and 3.55. These values are very close to the real value of 3.56 centimeters. Therefore, accurate data is data that closely matches the actual or real-world values and contains fewer errors. Now, let us understand the features of data. Data features are the characteristics or properties of data. They describe each piece of information present in a dataset. For example, in a table containing student records, features could include the student's name, age, or grade. Similarly, in a photo dataset, the features might include the colors present in each image. These features help us understand and analyze the data more effectively. In artificial intelligence models, we generally work with two types of features: independent features and dependent features. Independent features are the input information provided to the model to help it make predictions. Dependent features are the output or result that the model is trying to predict. For example, in the diagram, information such as age, education level, income, and marital status can be provided as inputs to an AI model. The model then uses this information to predict an output, such as whether a person will purchase a product or not purchase it. Therefore, independent features act as the inputs, while dependent features represent the outputs or predictions of the model. Now, let us understand independent features and dependent features in more detail. Independent features are the inputs to an AI model. They are the pieces of information that we provide to the model so that it can make predictions. In the table shown here, the independent features are age, education, income, and marital status. These are marked in red. For example, a person's age may be 36 to 55, their education may be master's, their income may be high, and their marital status may be single. The AI model uses these input features to make a prediction. Dependent features, on the other hand, are the outputs or results of the model. They represent what we are trying to predict. In this example, purchased is the dependent feature, marked in green. It has values of 1, meaning purchased, and 0, meaning not purchased. So, remember, independent features are the inputs used to make a prediction, while dependent features are the outputs that we want the model to predict. Now, let us understand data preprocessing. Data preprocessing is an essential phase in the machine learning process. It prepares datasets so that they can be used effectively in machine learning applications. It involves detecting and correcting, or removing, corrupt or inaccurate records from a dataset. Data preprocessing includes several important processes. These are data cleaning, data transformation, data reduction, data integration and normalization, and feature selection. First, data cleaning involves identifying and correcting problems such as missing, duplicate, or incorrect data. Next, data transformation involves changing data into a suitable format for analysis or machine learning. Data reduction reduces the amount of data while retaining the important information. Data integration and normalization involve combining data from different sources and bringing data into a consistent and suitable form. Finally, feature selection involves selecting the most relevant features from the dataset for building an effective machine learning model. Thus, data preprocessing helps convert raw data into clean, consistent, and useful data that can be effectively used by AI and machine learning systems. Now, let us understand the difference between data processing and data interpretation with a simple example. Data processing and interpretation have become very important in today's world. Suppose Nikki has 7 candies and Ruchi has 4 candies. Now, the first question is, how many candies do Nikki and Ruchi have in total? To find the answer, we need to process the given data. 7 plus 4 gives us 11 candies. Therefore, we can answer this question using data processing. Now, consider another question. Who should get more candies so that both Nikki and Ruchi have an equal number of candies? Nikki has 7 candies, while Ruchi has 4. Therefore, Ruchi should get more candies. The next question is, how many candies should Ruchi get? Ruchi needs 3 more candies to have 7 candies, the same number as Nikki. We can answer this question using data interpretation because we are analyzing the processed information and drawing a meaningful conclusion from it. So, remember, data processing helps us work with data to obtain results, while data interpretation helps us understand those results and draw meaningful conclusions. Let us now clearly understand the difference between data processing and data interpretation. Data processing relates to operating on data to produce meaningful information. In other words, data processing involves performing different operations on raw data so that it can be converted into useful and meaningful information. On the other hand, data interpretation relates to analyzing data to arrive at meaningful decisions. Once the data has been processed, we study and analyze the information obtained from it. This helps us understand what the data means and make appropriate decisions. So, remember the difference. Data processing means operating on data to produce meaningful information. Data interpretation means analyzing data to arrive at meaningful decisions. Let us understand data processing and data interpretation in more detail. First, data processing helps computers understand raw data. The use of computers to perform different operations on data is included under data processing. These operations help convert raw data into a form that can be understood and used effectively. Now, let us look at data interpretation. Data interpretation is the process of making sense of data that has already been processed. The interpretation of data helps us answer critical questions using data. By analyzing the processed information, we can understand what the data tells us and draw meaningful conclusions. So, in simple terms, data processing helps us work with raw data, while data interpretation helps us understand the processed data and answer important questions. Now, let us understand the process of data interpretation. There are 5 main steps in the process: acquire, process, analyze, interpret, and present. The first step is acquire data. Acquiring data means collecting data from various data sources. The second step is data processing. After the raw data is collected, it is processed to derive meaningful information from it. The third step is data analysis. Data analysis involves examining each component of the data in order to draw conclusions. The fourth step is data interpretation. In this step, we explain what the findings or conclusions mean in a given context. The final step is data presentation. In this step, we select, organize, and group ideas and evidence in a logical way so that the information can be communicated clearly. So, the 5 steps are acquire, process, analyze, interpret, and present. These steps help us transform raw data into meaningful information and communicate useful conclusions effectively. Now, let us understand the methods of data interpretation. How can we interpret data? Based on the two major types of data, there are two ways to interpret data. The first is quantitative data interpretation. The second is qualitative data interpretation. Quantitative data interpretation deals with numerical data. It helps us understand information in terms of numbers, quantities, measurements, and frequencies. Qualitative data interpretation, on the other hand, deals with descriptive or textual data. It helps us understand information such as opinions, emotions, feelings, experiences, and motivations. Therefore, the two main methods of data interpretation are quantitative data interpretation and qualitative data interpretation. Now, let us understand qualitative data interpretation. Qualitative data tells us about the emotions and feelings of people. It focuses on descriptive information rather than numbers. Qualitative data interpretation helps us understand the insights, opinions, experiences, and motivations of people. For example, imagine we are collecting reviews about a restaurant. A customer may say that the restaurant has an amazing atmosphere, great food, and excellent service. Another customer may say that the pizza is very tasty, or that the vegetable farmhouse pizza is their favorite. These statements give us information about what customers feel, think, and prefer. Therefore, qualitative data interpretation helps us understand the reasons behind people's opinions and choices rather than simply counting their responses. Now, let us learn about the data collection methods used for qualitative data interpretation. The first method is record keeping. In this method, we use existing reliable documents and similar sources of information as our data source. It is similar to visiting a library to find useful information. The second method is observation. Here, the behavior and emotions of participants are carefully observed and recorded. The third method is case studies. In this method, data is collected by studying specific cases in detail. The fourth method is focus groups. Data is collected through a group discussion about a relevant topic. The fifth method is longitudinal studies. In this method, the same data source is studied repeatedly over an extended period. Finally, we have one-to-one interviews, where data is collected through an individual interview with a participant. These methods help us collect detailed information about people's behavior, opinions, experiences, and emotions. Now, let us understand the 5 steps involved in qualitative data analysis. The first step is collect data. In this step, we gather the required qualitative information from suitable sources. The second step is organize. The collected data is arranged in a proper and systematic manner so that it becomes easier to study. The third step is set a code to the data collected. Here, we assign codes or labels to different parts of the data to identify important ideas or patterns. The fourth step is analyze your data. We carefully examine the coded data to identify patterns, meanings, opinions, and important findings. The fifth and final step is reporting. The findings are presented clearly so that the results of the analysis can be understood by others. So, the 5 steps are: collect data, organize, set a code to the data collected, analyze your data, and reporting. Now, let us understand quantitative data interpretation. Quantitative data interpretation is based on numerical data. It helps us answer questions such as when, how many, and how often. For example, if we want to know how many likes an Instagram post has received, we need numerical data to answer the question. Quantitative data can also be used to record the cumulative grade point average, or CGPA, of students. We can use numbers to compare students' academic performance. Another example is web traffic. By counting the number of visits to a website, we can understand how frequently people are visiting it. We can also collect numerical data by recording the height of students in a class. The average height can then help a school design suitable tables and chairs for students. Therefore, quantitative data interpretation helps us understand information using numbers, measurements, counts, and numerical values. Now, let us learn about the data collection methods used for quantitative data interpretation. The first method is interviews. Quantitative interviews play an important role in collecting information that can be represented using numerical data. The second method is polls. A poll is a type of survey that asks simple questions to respondents. Polls are usually limited to one question. The third method is observations. Quantitative data can be collected by observing people, objects, or events during a particular time period and recording numerical information. The fourth method is longitudinal studies. These are studies conducted over a long period of time, where data is collected repeatedly to observe changes. The fifth method is surveys. Surveys can be conducted with a large number of people to collect quantitative data. Thus, interviews, polls, observations, longitudinal studies, and surveys are important methods for collecting quantitative data. Now, let us understand the 4 steps involved in quantitative data analysis. The first step is to relate measurement scales with variables. This helps us understand the type of numerical data we are working with and how it can be measured. The second step is to connect descriptive statistics with data. Descriptive statistics help us summarize and understand numerical data in a meaningful way. The third step is to decide a measurement scale. We need to select an appropriate scale according to the type of data being collected and analyzed. The fourth and final step is to represent data in an appropriate format. Data can be presented using suitable tables, charts, graphs, or other formats so that it can be easily understood. Therefore, the 4 steps are relating measurement scales with variables, connecting descriptive statistics with data, deciding a measurement scale, and representing data in an appropriate format. Let us now summarize the difference between qualitative and quantitative data interpretation. Qualitative data interpretation is based on categorical data. It provides insights into the feelings and emotions of people and helps answer questions such as how and why. Common methods include interviews and focus groups. For example, we may ask, why do students like attending online classes? On the other hand, quantitative data interpretation is based on numerical data. It provides insights into quantity and helps answer questions such as when, how many, or how often. Common methods include assessments, tests, polls, and surveys. For example, we may ask, how many students like attending online classes? So, remember the key difference: qualitative data helps us understand how and why, while quantitative data helps us understand when, how many, and how often. Now, let us learn about the types of data interpretation. Data can be presented or interpreted in three different ways. The first is textual data interpretation. In this method, data is presented in the form of words or sentences, usually as text or paragraphs. The second is tabular data interpretation. Here, data is organized systematically in the form of rows and columns, making it easier to compare and understand information. The third is graphical data interpretation. In this method, data is represented using graphs, charts, or other visual formats. It helps us understand patterns and comparisons quickly. Therefore, the three types of data interpretation are textual, tabular, and graphical. Now, let us understand textual data interpretation. In textual data interpretation, the data is presented in text form, usually in the form of a paragraph. This method is useful when the amount of data is small and can be easily understood by reading it. However, textual presentation is not suitable for large amounts of data because reading and comparing a large amount of information can become difficult. Let us understand this with an example. In a science Olympiad class of 45 students, 3 students obtained the perfect score of 50. 10 students scored 45 and above, 15 students scored 40 and above, 8 students scored 30 and above, 6 students scored 20 and above, and 3 students scored 19 and below. From this information, we can interpret that more than 60% of the students scored more than 80% marks in the Olympiad. This is an example of textual data interpretation, where information is presented in sentences and then interpreted to reach a conclusion. Now, let us understand tabular data interpretation. In tabular data interpretation, information is represented systematically in the form of rows and columns. This format makes it easier to organize, compare, and analyze large amounts of data. The title of the table describes the content of the table. In this example, the title is Item of Expenditure. Next, we have the column headings. These headings describe the type of information contained in each column. The column headings in this table are year, salary, fuel and transport, bonus, interest on loans, and taxes. For example, the table provides expenditure-related information for the years 1998 to 2002. By looking at the rows and columns, we can easily compare values for different years and different items of expenditure. Therefore, tabular data interpretation presents information in a clear, organized, and systematic format, making it easier to understand and analyze data. Now, let us understand graphical data interpretation. One common method of graphical data interpretation is the bar graph. In a bar graph, data is represented using vertical or horizontal bars. The length or height of each bar represents a particular numerical value. In the given example, the bar graph shows the distribution of marks scored in mathematics. The different categories represent students according to their marks, such as the perfect score, 45 and above, 40 and above, between 30 and 39, between 20 and 29, and 19 and below. By looking at the height of the bars, we can quickly compare the number of students in each category. For example, the tallest bar represents the group of students who scored 40 and above, while smaller bars represent the other score ranges. Therefore, graphical data interpretation makes it easier to visualize, compare, and understand numerical information quickly. Now, let us learn about pie charts. A pie chart has the shape of a pie, and each slice represents a portion of the entire pie allocated to a particular category. It is a circular chart divided into different sections, just like a cake divided into slices. Each section of the pie chart is proportional to its corresponding value. Therefore, A larger value is represented by a larger slice, while a smaller value is represented by a smaller slice. In the given example, the pie chart represents the distribution of mathematics scores among students. The different sections represent categories such as perfect score, 45 and above, 40 and above, between 30 and 39, between 20 and 29, and 19 and below. By comparing the sizes of the slices, we can easily understand how the total data is distributed among different categories. Thus, pie charts are useful for showing the proportion or percentage of different categories within a whole. Now, let us learn about line graphs. A line graph is created by connecting various data points with lines. It is mainly used to show how a quantity changes over time. In the given example, the line graph shows the distribution of mathematics scores among students. The different points represent the number of students in different score categories, such as perfect score, 45 and above, 40 and above, between 30 and 39, between 20 and 29, and 19 and below. The points are connected with lines, making it easy to observe the increase and decrease in the number of students across the different categories. For example, the number of students increases up to the 40 and above category and then gradually decreases. Thus, a line graph helps us visualize changes and trends in data clearly. Now, let us understand the importance of data interpretation. Data interpretation is crucial for several reasons. The first is informed decision-making. Interpreting data helps us make informed and correct decisions. For example, by knowing the average height of students, a school can design chairs and tables according to the requirements of the class. The second is reducing cost. By identifying the needs and preferences of people, unnecessary expenses can be reduced. For example, a restaurant owner can remove or modify dishes from the menu that are not popular or have received poor reviews. The third is identifying needs. Data interpretation helps us understand what people need or prefer. For example, if the data shows that veg farmhouse pizza is popular among students in the age group of 8 to 10 years, the restaurant can make sure that this choice remains available. Thus, data interpretation helps us make better decisions, reduce costs, and understand people's needs. Thank you for watching this video on data acquisition, data processing, and data interpretation. I hope this video has helped you understand the concepts in a simple and clear way. For detailed notes and revision material, you can download the PDF notes from the link provided in the description box. You can also visit Edushri, your platform for educational resources, notes, worksheets, study material, and other learning resources. Don't forget to like the video, share it with your classmates, and subscribe to the channel for more educational videos. Keep learning, keep practicing, and keep improving. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.